Ross William Ulbricht was born on March 27, 1984, in Austin, Texas. Austin is a warm, friendly place where kids play in the streets, and families live in peace. Ross grew up in exactly this kind of environment. His family raised him and his sibling in a loving home. From a young age, Ross was very intelligent and curious. His parents always supported his curiosity. His father, in particular, placed great importance on Ross's education. Perhaps this is why Ross's intelligence and talents began to show at an early age. Growing up in the warm climate of Texas, Ross was always a child who wanted to learn more about the world around him. As a child, he loved nature. He would often spend time outside, trying to explore and understand the natural world. This love for nature became an important part of his personality as he grew older. Ross not only observed nature but also people. He tried to understand people's behaviors and thoughts. This curious nature would later lead him to develop different ideas and pursue big goals. Scouting played a significant role in Ross's life. He joined the Scouts at a young age and developed his leadership skills there. His success in scouting led him to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout. This rank is one of the highest in scouting and symbolizes Ross's determination and ambition. Scouting instilled in Ross important values such as discipline, leadership, and teamwork. It also strengthened his love for nature. Scouting was crucial in shaping his character. Ross attended West Ridge Middle School and then West Lake High School. He was known as a successful student in high school. Academically, he was exceptionally gifted, and he was also socially active. In high school, he particularly excelled in math and science. His teachers recognized how intelligent he was and always supported him. High school was a time when Ross set big goals for his life and developed himself. The knowledge he gained in high school would guide him in university and later in life. After graduating from high school in 2002, Ross won a full academic scholarship to the University of Texas in Dallas. Winning this scholarship was another testament to his academic success and intelligence. Ross chose to study physics at university. Physics is a challenging and complex field, but Ross's curiosity and determination drove him to tackle it. Physics is the science that tries to understand the workings of the universe, and Ross, by choosing this field, sought to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos. In 2006, Ross graduated with a bachelor's degree in physics. His university years were when Ross developed his scientific thinking skills and laid the foundation for his future career. His education in physics strengthened his analytical thinking abilities and gave him the skill to solve problems with a scientific approach. But for Ross, this was not enough. He wanted to take his scientific career even further. So, he decided to pursue a master's degree in materials science and engineering at Pennsylvania State University, Penn State. Materials science is the study of the structure and properties of materials, and Ross focused on crystallography. Crystallography is the science that studies the structure of crystals and tries to understand their atomic arrangements. It's a highly technical and challenging field, but Ross managed to overcome this challenge and continued his education. During his time at Penn State, Ross's interests were not only scientific but also ideological. He began to take an interest in libertarian economic theory. Libertarianism is a philosophy that advocates for individual freedom and aims to minimize the influence of the state on individuals. Ross started to embrace this philosophy. He was influenced by economists like Ludwig von Mises and supported politicians like Ron Paul. Ross participated in university debates, defending these views. During this period, he began to question the state's control over individuals. Perhaps the idea of Silk Road first sprouted in his mind during these reflections. After graduating from Penn State in 2009, Ross returned to Austin. Now, as a newly graduated young man, he had big dreams. He was thinking about how to shape his career. Ross had always wanted to achieve something great, but things in life don't always go as planned, do they? Ross realized this soon enough. First, he tried his hand at trading in the stock market. Investing in the stock market is an area that requires taking big risks. Ross hoped to succeed in this field, but things didn't go well. His investments failed, and he didn't make the huge profits he had hoped for. This experience was disappointing for Ross, but he didn't give up. He was always ready to try something bigger. After his failures in the stock market, he decided to start a video game company. Video games were a rapidly growing industry at the time, and Ross thought he could succeed in this field. But unfortunately, this venture also failed. The company did not achieve the success it had hoped for and soon closed down. This was another disappointment for Ross. But he knew how to learn from these failures. Every failure made him stronger and drove him to seek new opportunities. Afterward, he helped set up an online business called Good Wagon Books, which sold used books. This venture was a sort of breather for him, but this job didn't satisfy Ross either. There was a big idea, a big goal inside him. Ross was not content to live his life doing something ordinary. He had a much bigger plan in mind, and this plan would lay the foundation for Silk Road. In his journal, Ross wrote a sentence that hinted at the birth of Silk Road: "I want to create a website where people can buy anything anonymously, with no trace left behind." At the time, this might have seemed like a crazy idea, but Ross's mind was becoming increasingly clear about this vision. His goal was to create a platform where people could trade independently of government control. This idea was fueled by his libertarian beliefs. In 2011, Ross launched Silk Road. Silk Road was a completely anonymous platform that operated using the Tor network. The Tor network allowed users to hide their identities and remain anonymous on the internet. Through this network, Ross was able to completely conceal his users' identities. All transactions on Silk Road were conducted in Bitcoin. Bitcoin wasn't yet widely known at the time, but Ross brilliantly exploited the anonymity this cryptocurrency provided. Silk Road grew rapidly. The platform revolutionized the trade of illegal goods. Drugs, fake IDs, weapons, you could find anything there. Ross ran the site under the alias Dread Pirate Roberts. Dread Pirate Roberts was a pirate character from the novel The Princess Bride. By choosing this name, Ross turned himself into something of a legend. He was just a name, but under that name, he became a force in the digital world. Silk Road was a platform that served Ross's ideals. His goal was to create a place where people could trade without government intervention. However, this freedom also brought with it a significant problem: illegal trade. The majority of the trade on Silk Road consisted of illegal goods like drugs. This situation put both Ross and the platform at great risk. As Silk Road grew rapidly, it began to attract attention. As the platform's popularity increased, so did its user base. But this growth also brought it under scrutiny. The FBI, DEA, and other law enforcement agencies began to take action to shut down this massive underground market. Ross, in the meantime, had become a legend in the digital world, but he was also being drawn into a dangerous situation. IRS agent Gary Alford had been working for a long time to uncover the founder of Silk Road. When he discovered that Ross was Dread Pirate Roberts, it marked the beginning of the end for this digital empire. Alford tracked down Ross by following his online traces. A post Ross had made under the username Altoid on a forum gave him away. In this post, Ross had shared his real name and email address. This mistake paved the way for his capture. In October 2013, Ross Ulbricht was arrested at a library in San Francisco. This scene is like something out of a movie. FBI agents pretended to be a couple having an argument in the library to distract Ross while another agent seized his laptop. This laptop was the command center of Silk Road. The seizure of the laptop marked the end of Ross's digital empire. When the FBI arrested Ross, all the data related to Silk Road was on his laptop. This was a significant victory for the FBI. Silk Road was shut down shortly after, and the free trade platform that Ross had envisioned collapsed in an instant. Ross was taken into custody and faced serious charges. When Ross was brought to trial, the charges were extremely serious: money laundering, computer hacking, narcotics trafficking. When all these charges were combined, there was no way out for Ross. In 2015, he was found guilty of all charges. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. This meant that Ross Ulbricht would spend the rest of his life in prison. But that's not the end. During the trial, it was also alleged that Ross had hired hitmen. Prosecutors claimed that Ross had spent $730,000 to hire hitmen to eliminate at least 5 people. Although these murders were never carried out, these allegations further aggravated his sentence. The court took these hitman plots into account when determining Ross's sentence. Ross Ulbricht had lost himself in the digital world he had created. Ross appealed the court's decision, but the outcome didn't change. In 2017, the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit upheld Ross's conviction and sentence. Ross then took his case to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court also denied his petition. There was no longer any way back for Ross Ulbricht. He was condemned to spend the rest of his life in a federal prison in Tucson, Arizona. Ross's story seems to end here, but in reality, his legacy lives on. The shutdown of Silk Road was one of the first major blows struck against the dark side of the internet. But this story also shows us how powerful technology can be and how it can lead to dangerous places. The digital crime empire Ross built reveals just how far individual freedom can go and also the consequences of uncontrolled power. This story is also a warning about the dark side of the internet. Technology can offer great freedoms, but at the same time, these freedoms can be easily abused. Ross Ulbricht set out in the name of individual freedom, but in the end, he was completely deprived of his freedom. Silk Road was a revolution for him, but it also led to his downfall. Ross's story is a glimpse into the dark sides of the digital age and a living example of what can happen in that darkness. In the end, Ross Ulbricht's life teaches us something important: power, whether digital or otherwise, must be used responsibly. Because if it's not, that power can one day consume you, just as it did Ross Ulbricht.